Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into some source material that tackles a challenge I think we all feel. Finding that balance with screen time, especially in a world just saturated with screens, particularly since the pandemic really ramped things up.
It really did, yeah. So our mission here in this deep dive is basically to unpack this source you brought, pull out the most actionable tips it gives for managing screen use.
Right.
And find those core insights, maybe even a few surprising details.
Because, let's face it, screen time is such a double-edged sword these days.
Totally.
And this material really gets that. It acknowledges that during the pandemic, screens weren't just, a habit. They were often our only connection for work, for family.
Everything, yeah, it was essential, plain and simple.
And now, trying to dial that back, even when we feel we probably should, it's tough.
Oh, absolutely. It's so woven into daily life now. But finding that that healthy boundary, that's the real puzzle we're trying to solve.
Okay, so let's start where this source material does. It jumps right into the potential impact of all the screen use.
Right.
And it doesn't really pull any punches. It links it pretty directly to effects on both physical and mental health.
Yeah, it outlines the things you might expect, like sleep problems, eye strain, that kind of thing. But it also makes clear connections to mental health challenges. It talks about increased anxiety, depression, even issues with concentration, maybe making ADHD symptoms worse.
So it's definitely more than just tired eyes at the end of the day.
Way more. And this is where I think it gets really interesting. The source puts forward this idea as the crucial first step. And it's maybe a bit counterintuitive for a lot of us.
Which is?
Pay attention to how you feel.
Ah, okay. So not just how much time, but the feeling afterward.
Exactly. The source suggests that most people don't really make that conscious link,
Yeah.
between their mood or their energy right after screen time. But it insists there's often a really powerful correlation just sort of hiding there.
So the practice it's recommending sounds simple, but maybe quite profound. Like after you put down your phone or close the laptop, just pause.
Just pause. Yeah. Check in. Ask yourself, okay, how do I feel right now?
And then maybe go a layer deeper, like which specific apps or types of content tend to leave you feeling better or, worse.
Definitely. And really notice patterns, it says, especially around social media. Does scrolling actually lift you up, make you feel genuinely connected?
Or do you get that kind of twisting feeling in your stomach that the material actually mentions, that sort of subtle negative physical cue?
That's the key question. That self-awareness, that feeling check, that's the foundation.
Because the goal isn't necessarily zero screens, right? The source that's basically impossible for most people.
Right. It's more about gathering data on yourself, understanding how this tool impacts you specifically.
So you can moderate it, make it work for your well-being, not undermine it.
Exactly. And building on that self-knowledge, the source then offers some really concrete strategies. The first one is about creating buffer zones, particularly around sleep.
Right, the bedtime and wake time buffers. So these are those specific times just before bed and right after waking where you consciously decide not to look at screens.
And there's a statistic in there that's pretty eye-opening. It says roughly 70% of people check their phones within 5 minutes of waking up.
Wow, 70%. That's almost immediate.
It's instant immersion, yeah. And the source really highlights the benefits of resisting that urge, even for a bit. It mentions, better sleep quality.
Makes sense. Less blue light right before bed.
Exactly. And potentially even increase self-esteem because you're starting the day on your terms, not instantly comparing yourself to others online.
And just feeling less scattered if your brain isn't hit with a flood of notifications first thing.
Right. And the suggestion isn't to suddenly go screen-free for an hour.
No. The source is smart here. It says start really small, just 5 minutes. 5 minutes buffer before bed, 5 minutes in the morning.
Get comfortable with that first.
Yeah.
Then maybe gradually increase it if it feels good.
Okay, so that's the edges of the day. What about during the day? The source moves on to setting clearer boundaries then, too.
It does. And here's another statistic that kind of underlines why this is needed. Apparently, Americans check their smartphones up to 344 times a day.
Wait, 344 times?
Per day, yeah.
That averages out to, once every 4 minutes or something?
Pretty much, yeah. And that number just perfectly illustrates the issue the source points out. Without boundaries, the phone basically rules you. It's constantly pulling your attention away.
Making it hard to be present or get anything done deeply.
Exactly. So the source gives this really practical example. It borrows from like productivity techniques. It's just maybe a 50-minute work block, then a 10-minute break.
Okay, like the Pomodoro technique, kind of?
Sort of, yeah. But here's the crucial part. During that 50-minute focus time, keep your phone physically away.
Not just turned over, like across the room in a drawer.
Yep. Somewhere it's not easy to just grab reflexively. Then when the 10-minute break comes, that's when you decide.
Okay.
You can check your phone and messages, maybe a quick social media glance if you want. Or you could use that break to, stretch, walk around, grab coffee, disconnect entirely.
And the benefit isn't just productivity, is it? It's breaking that cycle of constant tiny interruptions that just kill your focus.
Precisely. It makes deep work actually possible again.
Okay, so time boundaries.
Oh.
What else? The source mentions organizing your apps too.
Yeah, this one feels like a neat little psychological nudge.
How so?
Well, instead of having the apps you use most often right there on your main screen, which might include the ones that, make you feel worse based on that earlier point.
Right, the feeling check.
You deliberately rearrange them. You put the apps you want to use more, the ones that might actually benefit you, like meditation apps or journaling or reading stuff.
Put those front and center on page 1.
Exactly. And maybe push the ones that tend to trigger negative feelings, certain social media, maybe some news apps, onto a second or third page.
So you create just a little bit of friction, makes you pause before opening them.
Yep. It's a subtle way to steer yourself towards healthier choices based on what you learned about how you react to different apps.
Clever. Okay, and there was one more main tip, wasn't there? About notifications.
Yeah, the big one. Turn off most of your notifications.
This feels almost too simple, but probably huge.
It really is, because notifications are literally designed to grab your attention, right? To pull you back to the device constantly.
Mm-hmm. They create that Pavlovian response almost.
Totally. So silencing most of them, it creates this essential bit of separation. The source makes a really good point. Very, very few things on your phone actually need an instant response.
Right. Most texts, emails, app alerts, they can wait until you choose to check.
Exactly. Until your break or a specific time you set aside, you get your attention span back.
Okay, so bringing this all together, the source's sort of final thoughts, what's the main takeaway message?
It's actually quite reassuring, I think. It emphasizes that screen time itself isn't necessarily the enemy. Moderate use is generally fine.
So no need to panic and think you have to go completely cold turkey or do some extreme digital detox.
Not necessarily, no. The real key, according to this material, is just staying on top of it, being aware.
Noticing the impact it has on you.
Exactly. And using these kinds of strategies, the buffers, the boundaries, the app organization, the notifications, to keep control, to have agency over how you use it rather than feeling like the tech is controlling you.
It's about shifting from reactive use to more intentional use.
That's a great way to put it, intentional use.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive into the source material, we've looked at the health impacts it mentions, stress that really foundational idea of checking in with your feelings after screen time. And then we unpack those practical strategies. Morning and evening buffers, setting boundaries like that 50-10 structure, organizing your apps smartly, and silencing those notifications.
Yeah, I think this source offers some genuinely useful tools for navigating our, very digital lives. And it really does highlight how these devices are shaping us, sometimes in ways we don't even notice day to day.
So as a final thought for you, our listener, building on what we've dug into here, maybe consider this. Moving beyond just the total time you spend on screens.
Yeah.
Really reflect on which specific types of screen time consistently feel like they add value, like they genuinely serve you, and which ones, based on that feeling check, consistently seem to leave you feeling drained or worse.
Because understanding that difference, for you personally, that could be the most powerful starting point for making changes that stick.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.